Congressman Jim Jordan. He, of course, is a Republican on the House Select Committee on Benghazi. He had many memorable moments during this 11-hour marathon yesterday. Congressman, thanks so much for being here. You had what was, by most accounts, the defining moment of the hearing, and that is when you revealed, the first time many of us ever saw this, some email exchanges between Hillary Clinton and the Prime Minister of Egypt and her daughter, Chelsea, in which she said in the hours after the Benghazi attack, this was a terror attack. She said it a couple of different ways, but it seemed unequivocal. She called it a terror attack. And that's not what the press secretary, Jay Carney, said in the days afterwards. That's not what Ambassador Susan Rice said in the days afterwards. But let me just play for everyone how Hillary Clinton responded to you apparently catching her in this spin. So listen to this.
There was a lot of conflicting information that we were trying to make sense of. The situation was very fluid. It was fast moving. There was also a claim of responsibility by Ansar al-Sharia. And when I talked to the Egyptian Prime Minister, I said that this was a claim of responsibility by Ansar al-Sharia, by a group that was affiliated, or at least wanted to be affiliated with al-Qaeda. Sometime after that, the next day, early the next morning after that, on the 12th or 13th, they retracted their claim of responsibility.
Congressman, do you accept her explanation?
No, because that's not all she said to the Egyptian Prime Minister. She said to the Egyptian Prime Minister, we know, not I think, we know it was not the film. It was a planned attack, not a protest. That is as straightforward language as you can get. So in private, she was straightforward. She was forthcoming. Publicly, it was the video-inspired protest narrative.
Yeah.
So it was a completely different narrative she told the American people. She could tell her family the truth. She could tell the Egyptian Minister the truth. She can tell the President of Libya the truth, but she wasn't straight with the American people. And that's the part that bothers us, because that is a fundamental function of this country. Your government officials have to give it to you straight.
So, Congressman, let's say that you're right and that the White House made a political calculation. They made a political calculation not to call this a terror attack because President Obama was in the middle of a re-election. Now what? Where does this take you now? What's the upshot? Who goes to jail for being politically expedient?
No, it's not that I'm right. That's what the facts show. And so if the facts show that relative to what they tried to communicate to us publicly versus what they were saying privately, then let's go to the situation today. We know that Secretary Clinton and her legal team got to decide which emails belonged to the taxpayer in the public realm and which ones were private. I asked her yesterday, I said, you know what? The FBI has that server. Let's suppose the FBI finds some deleted emails and some emails that were wiped or whatever, and they discover that there's information that is actually work-related and specifically maybe even related to Libya. Will you allow a neutral third party like a retired federal judge to look at that information and say, if it applies to our investigation, give us that information? You know what her response was? I don't think we can do that. So that's why it's relevant. That's why it's important. We know they misled the American people on the very night of the attack, and now we know she controlled the information, her emails, which were public, which were private. That's why it's relevant.
But what's the upshot for you? I mean, again, I think that, you know, sadly, Americans accept that politicians make decisions that sometimes involve political spin. What do you want to see happen if in fact your scenario is accurate?
Our charge has always been to get to the truth, Alisyn. That's what we're trying to do. That's why we want a third party, a neutral third party like a retired federal judge to examine it. That's why we want them to give us the information. We just this week, we got 5,000 emails from Ambassador Stevens. None of these had access to that information, and we're just now getting it. That's how long it takes this State Department, this administration, to get us the record, to get us the information. That's what's so frustrating. You can't get to the truth if you can't get the record and you can't get all the information. We're asking them to do it, and she's putting up roadblocks, and the State Department's putting up roadblocks.
See, here's what's interesting, is that even the chairman of your committee, Trey Gowdy, admitted after the 11-hour marathon session that he wasn't sure that anything new really had come out. Listen to what he said last night.
I think some of Jimmy Jordan's questioning, well, when you say new today, I mean, we knew some of that already. We knew about the emails. In terms of her testimony, I don't know that she testified that much differently today than she has the previous time she's testified.
So, Congressman, I mean, $4.5 million, taxpayer dollars, 11 hours yesterday, and more than a year investigation. What is new now?
But you started this segment off by talking about breaking news. We broke news yesterday that she was saying a completely different story to her family, a completely different story to the Egyptian prime minister. So that was certainly new. The fact that she won't let a neutral third party, like a retired federal judge, look at her email situation is news. But the focus is on getting to the truth, and we're going to continue to do that. Of course, she gave the same answer. She stuck to her story. That I guess is not that surprising. What we're trying to do is get her to give us the information so we can get to the truth for the American taxpayer, the American people, and probably most importantly, for the families of the 4 individuals who died that day.
This is the part that always confuses me, is because the narrative that you and that many Republicans have stuck to is what happened afterwards in terms of, was it a video, was it a terror attack? It's the spin afterwards. It's what Susan Rice said that is so upsetting. But what about, how does that affect before, the cause of this, and how to protect people and better get the funding that came up to make sure that all of our embassies and consulates are protected?
Alisyn, there were lots of questions about that. I've done questions about that in my role in the Oversight Committee as well. 200 security incidents in Libya leading up to in the 13 months prior to the attack, repeated requests for additional security, and they were denied. So we've focused on that issue in a big way, too, and trying to, in the future, make sure that there's less chance this kind of tragedy can happen.
Sure.
So, of course, there's focus on that.
And
this committee is focusing on that.
You're right. I mean, Congressman, you're right. You did ask questions. I mean solutions. So have we come out of this where embassies will be better funded, ambassadors will be better protected, solutions, so this doesn't happen anymore? Do you feel that you've made headway on solutions?
Yeah, I think we have. I think there were some things that I think were positive in the Accountability Review Board. It certainly was an independent review, but there were some positive suggestions that came out of that are being implemented as we speak to better protect the people around the world who serve in our diplomatic corps. That is important. But again, we need our government officials to be square with us. That's a fundamental hallmark of what our country's all about.
So, Congressman, how do you think that ultimately this has affected Hillary Clinton? Do you think that what happened yesterday affected her chances of becoming president?
Alisyn, that's not my call. That's not my charge. The American people are going to decide that.
But what do you think?
Do
you think that she was damaged at all by what happened in the hearing yesterday?
I think we have to get to the truth, and it would be a lot easier if they'd be straight with us. The State Department would give us the information we need. The Obama administration would be more accommodating. You would think the Democrats, instead of just criticizing, would actually want to help us get the record, get the information. We've interviewed 50 people that the other committees didn't interview. We've interviewed 7 eyewitnesses that the other committees didn't interview. You think they want to help us get the record, get the information. We don't have all of Hillary Clinton's emails. We know that because she got to decide.
Yes,
right?
But I mean, the Democrats say all of the relevant emails, and that the Accountability Review Board basically was the final word on this.
We may have all the relevant ones as determined by her. That's why I push. We may not have, and I stress that. Maybe she did give them all to us, but they made some mistakes. We know they didn't give us 15 that we were supposed to get.
Okay, so that does lead me to my next question, Congressman. How long does this go on? How much longer does this go on?
That you'd have to ask the chairman, but again, if maybe we get a little help and a little more accommodation instead of so many roadblocks, we could get this done and get answers to the American people.
Okay, Congressman Jim Jordan, thanks so much for taking time for a new day. We appreciate talking to you. We will have much more on this.